At a time when President Trump is still looking for a ceasefire and sirens continue to blare, missiles continue to fly, I'm joined by Joe Truzman, FDD Senior Research Analyst, a man who has been very, very vocal on his social media handles in analyzing the war as we've been witnessing it over the last 2 weeks. Thank you very much, Joe, for joining me right here on Times Now. I want to ask you, even as time passes by, the US president who has announced Israel and Iran have agreed to a complete and total ceasefire to be phased in over 24 hours, is actually appearing to be a bit of a farcical announcement and truce because missile strikes seem to be continuing.
Well, unfortunately, and first of all, actually, thank you for having me on. Unfortunately, when it comes to Middle East ceasefires, I'm not surprised it's actually happened. When we saw missiles and a response from each side effectively after the ceasefire was declared. I've seen this many times, especially with Iran's proxy groups or their network of clients, specifically Hamas and Israel, all the conflicts over the years. Ceasefire, unfortunately, there's attacks that do occur after the ceasefire happens. Now, the most important part here, I think, more than anything, is that the ceasefire holds. As the last few hours, at least, it looks like it is. Now, how long this will last, of course, this is going to be this is the difficult question to answer. So we can hope things stay the way they are right now without either side firing.
But at the moment, it looks like both the Israelis and the Iranians don't seem to be too keen on listening to President Trump. The strikes have continued, and Trump is now reduced to using the F word, in his statements, showing frustration, maybe?
I think President Trump is showing frustration. Obviously, he did not want missiles. He didn't want attacks to happen by either side after the ceasefire was implemented. Unfortunately, that happened. And nevertheless, again, this is a fragile ceasefire. These are two sides that have been at war with each other, at least directly over the last 12 days now. So. I understand the frustration, but again, the key part is with both sides, of course, Iran and Israel, can hold fire and ensure that this ceasefire lasts.
Let me ask you. You've also posted on your X handle that the Washington Post has published an audio file allegedly featuring Mossad agents warning 20 IRGC commanders to flee Iran. Are you sure that this is some kind of a fixed match where there are back channels and information is being shared? What are you alluding to?
Right. So, well, effectively, this is just the Washington Post that I'm assuming that they've received a file. They received video, audio from Mossad, which is Israel's intelligence agency. Effectively, where this audio file, right, depicts a Mossad agent speaking to IRGC, at least one commander, maybe two, where they effectively threaten the commander. Now, I think, as far as your question as back channeling is concerned, I think it happens, absolutely. Now, we saw it yesterday. I think we observed it yesterday. With the Iranian strikes in Qatar against the U.S. bases in that country. I think Iran privately told Qatar and the United States, at least according to reports, that an attack was imminent. So back channeling happens, all right? Now, why this was published, all right, to the media, that's another question. Personally, I think they should have stayed away from it, but nevertheless, now we have at least a glimpse of what happens behind the scenes. All right. So it was a very interesting audio file for sure.
So do you think this is all about just the regime change? The nuclear threat is just a ruse or just a cover for a regime change in Iran? What does this boil down to?
Right. I don't think, I mean, listen, we have to be pragmatic here. Of course, the United States, of course, Israel, and other countries would like to see a regime change in Iran. However, I don't think it's feasible, at least via military options, if Israel were to attempt to change or force a regime change, or maybe the United States. I think this can only happen with the people of Iran, all right? So I don't think that was necessarily the goal here, the military goal of the United States or Israel, and Israel. I would say it was more the most important thing here, of course, the goal, the objective of Israel, of course, the United States, is the nuclear issue, all right? I do believe Iran was close to building a bomb, and the ceasefire, or rather the talks, so the nuclear talks between the United States and Iran weren't really going anywhere. So the United States and Israel decided that it was time, I think, to remove this threat kinetically with military action. But at the end of the day, yes, I think the number one objective here was destroying or severely degrading Iran's nuclear infrastructure.
So let me ask you, what are the gains, if any, for the United States and President Donald Trump, given the fact that the United States has entered the war, used its B-2 bombers, tried to force a ceasefire that's so fragile that even Trump doesn't seem to be walking away smelling of roses. How do you look at the gains for the United States and President Trump at this point?
Right. It was a very risky move. This conflict, right? Entering this conflict between Israel and Iran, it was risky for the United States. So what happens if both sides don't want a ceasefire? So this is a risk the United States took. So I think President Trump, of course, and other planners in Washington understood this. Now I think they have to put the pressure on both sides to adhere to the ceasefire. I think at the end of the day, President Trump can walk away with a significant win. First of all, he's said from the beginning of his term that he did not want an Iranian nuclear, didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. All right, and that may be the case here after the dust settles. I think that's very important. So again, we have to see what happens. I think the coming days and weeks, all right, are very important. See if this ceasefire holds. If not, it could look bad for President Trump.
And what about the fact that President Trump has virtually tried to say that he's brought in a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, something that has been denied by India, ceasefire between Israel and Iran, also doesn't seem to be as foolproof as the first announcement. Do you really think he's going to walk away with a lot of positives?
Right. I want to say he will, but again, this is conflict, all right? We have to, again, as I said earlier, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be pragmatic. These are two sides, right? Iran and Israel that have been at conflict with each other for many years, either through the shadow war in Syria or through proxy organizations, especially the ones that Iran backs in the region. So it's not I wouldn't be surprised, right, if it's a rocky start, as we've seen already after this ceasefire. Tensions are very high. These are both sides, again, that have been warring with each other for many years. So again, I think we're going to see a lot of pressure from the United States on both sides. And unfortunately, we saw earlier today what President Trump said to the media, where he essentially derided, right, Israel and Iran for violating ceasefires. So one can hope for the best here, to be quite honest. But personally, I am a little concerned if the ceasefire is going to last.
So I want to ask you this simply because it's almost as if people are putting their bets on at this point in time. And does Iran have any reason to trust President Trump, given the fact that Iran was publicly bombed by the United States and would have, if nothing else, a bruised ego?
Right. Yes, Iran has every reason not to trust the United States, especially for the reasons that you mentioned. And of course, Iran doesn't trust Israel. Nevertheless, I think Iran doesn't have much of a choice here. They have to. I think they understand that it's in their interest to adhere to a ceasefire. All right. Again, being pragmatic here. Iran suffered significant blows in this conflict. All right, they may have lost their nuclear infrastructure, or at least their nuclear program. I don't think we know that just yet. It's still too early. And of course, their leadership, their military infrastructure, and of course their military leadership suffered significant blows. So I don't think really that Iran has a choice here. All right, at the end of the day, maybe trust is too strong of a word, all right, but they have to have some understanding with the United States, all right, that the United States, of course, and Israel and Iran will have to adhere to a ceasefire. If not, we're just going to see more conflict.
Well, clearly, everybody is on the edge at this moment across the world, waiting to see how the situation develops in the Middle East, in West Asia. Thank you very much, Joe Truzman, for joining me on Times.
Thank you.